So tell me about the dissident movement.
It was a Jewish dissident movement. So I hear about young guys going to synagogue in Odessa. There was only one synagogue in whole Odessa, 250,000 Jews.
So people didn't go for the most part?
No, closed.
Oh.
Government took possession of all the synagogues, turned them into warehouses, into stores, into something else. But one synagogue was open still, somewhere in the outskirts of Odessa. It's only because tourists would come to the city. Ships are coming to port city.
Right.
So.
So what was the dissident movement?
And I hear about people start going to synagogue, young people, and making all kind of things. Are writing applications to go to leave Russia. All pro-Israel, pro.
Well, what year was this?
It was 1971.
Okay, so weren't they getting in trouble? Weren't they going to prison for this? I mean...
No, not yet. But one of them, Katya Palatnik, her sister, Razi Palatnik, she was in prison for doing these things. I went there a couple of times, but they were afraid of me because they saw that I'm KGB agent. So they didn't want to associate with me. But I slowly, kind of, they understood that I'm like them. So my name was appearing on Voice of America, on Voice of Free Europe, because we would send petitions, and we were in touch with journalists in Moscow, international journalists, journalists from Europe. And they would pass information about what we're doing.
So what kinds of things would you say to them in brief?
No, that we want to get out, we're not allowed, okay? So they're not letting us this, letting us do that. But then we decided on the Day of Russian Constitution, 1971, in December 5. We agreed that 25 of us young people would go to City Hall and apply for permit to have a hunger strike across the City Hall.
Hunger strike across the City Hall? In Moscow or in Odessa?
No, Odessa.
In Odessa, okay.
Sitting with placards, let my people go. So because I was already fed up to. So we went in the morning. I left work place. I had to go to work, but I came to the City Hall. We came in, give petition to secretary, to administrator sitting at the entrance. So right away, door behind us was closed. Said, go to meeting room. Big table. 25 of us were sitting around the table. I was sitting for half an hour. Suddenly police come, so we cannot get out. Came colonel of KGB and colonel of section of police that deal with immigration. Okay, and so they start treating us. And they didn't beat us, but they said that you guys will go to prison, or to Siberia, or whatever, take petition back and forget about it. So they said, okay, in the evening we'll send you to prison. So we told them, look, we already passed information to Moscow, to journalists from...
Was it true that the journalists in Moscow, so these are international journalists, they knew that you were...
No, journalists, European and American journalists.
In Moscow?
In Moscow.
Yeah, so you had told them in advance that
we were
you were
it's
going
not me,
there
but,
to put your petition forward and have a hunger strike and that whole thing.
And if by 12 o'clock at night we were not calling you in Moscow, it means that we're in prison.
So the journalists are waiting.
Waiting.
Will they hear from you?
So
or not?
we told this to colonels, KGB on this. So they were upset so much. And then they used very interesting words. I don't want to pronounce. Choice words.
Okay.
Said, all of you bandits, hooligans, and all kind of Zionists, 10 days. We're giving you 10 days. In 10 days you should not leave traces in Russia. You should be out.
How do you leave Russia?
So I came to him and asked to this police guy. I told him, look, one of my brothers, middle brother, he's in the Russian army. So are you telling that whole family can go, and him too? He said, yeah, him too. When we left, I took right away.
But wait, I don't get, how do you leave?
We need to do paperwork. So I went back home this night, and my parents, in the middle of the night, like, I woke them saying, we are going We're living all together.
That's crazy.
So father was so happy. He said, okay, I'm going with you back to Odessa, into Avir. Avir is the part of police that deals with immigration. We'll fill up applications.
But people weren't allowed to leave Russia at the time.
But we made problems to them. And one of the reasons that they couldn't imprison us, because Russia was in bad situation with bread.
Okay, tell me about this bread situation, and what did that have to do with anything? How many people would leave Russia at this time? Like, nobody
out?
Like, how many people were allowed to leave?
No, very little, very little.
Okay, so it's a very rare situation to be in.
Yeah, some people from Georgia, Georgia.
So tell me what happened with the bread? Why did that help?
Russia had so much land, and they harvested so much, but they couldn't store it because they had no management and no facilities for that. So and eventually they had to buy bread from Canada, from States.
Wait a second. How would the States sell bread to their enemy?
So one of the conditions that President of States at the time, I don't remember who it was that let those people go.
Or we won't sell you bread.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this was Brezhnev's time, Brezhnev, president of Russia.
And those people would be who? I mean, Jewish people or somebody else? Or?
So at that time, was tricking out some Jewish people from Georgia. Okay. Now, some German, Russia had a significant German population that came in during Tsar Peter, Ekaterina. They settled in the Volga area. They were peasants.
So they wanted to leave as well?
Of course, because it was opportunity. They wanted to live slow, but they were taking like not mass. So, and we used this moment too. It was just working for us. So this was happened. So, but when we came to get to fill up application, this colonel said, sorry, middle brother is not going with you. He's in army. We cannot get him out of army.
Which one of your brothers is this?
Fima, Chaim.
Chaim, okay.
So my parents stopped. My father said that then we're not leaving. Because if we would leave Russia, we'd have to give back apartment to government. And my brother would not have a place to come back. They would put him somewhere in a village, so nobody would know about him. My parents decided that they're not going.
So who left?
So they said, okay, Reuven and Hannah, my sister, both of you can go.